Alright, so as you guys can see, today our lesson is going to be based around fish, particularly around this fish right here. This is what's called a steelhead. Now steelhead is also known as a rainbow trout. The only difference between the two of them is a rainbow trout predominantly only lives in river systems, whereas steelhead, like this one, was caught out of Lake Michigan, where it lives in the lake during the summers, and then during the spring and the fall, it goes into the river systems to reproduce. Now, what we're going to talk about is really the anatomy of the different types of fish and the way the makeup of their body is. Who knows what anatomy means? As I kind of mentioned, anatomy is actually the makeup of the body of the fish, or any living animal for that matter. It's the different body parts and the construction of them, and why each individual piece does what it does, and why they've evolved to have those particular body parts. So we're going to start with the steelhead here, and we're going to start and work our way from the head to the tail, and then we're going to discuss also some of the internal organs of the steelhead. Now, the first thing as we get onto the steelhead is their teeth. These teeth on the steelhead are a lot of times used for catching bait fish and holding bait. Now, who thinks that steelhead have sharp teeth, or do we think they have flat teeth like a hippopotamus would or anything like that? For all of you guys that said that the steelhead have sharp teeth, you guys are correct. They have sharp teeth because their main diet is actually composed of other smaller fish that they're eating, such as alewives, which is a predominant food source here in a lot of the Great Lakes. As we move on down with the steelhead, what we'll come to next is actually the eyes. Now, a lot of living organisms that we know all have eyes. Just like humans, we all have eyes. Now, just like us, we use our eyes to see and sense other things around us. Steelhead and all fish use their eyes for the same thing. They use their eyes to be able to sense different structures, different objects, obstacles, and also find and catch the bait that they're trying to pursue to get a good meal. The next thing that we come to as we work down the steelhead is their scales. Now, scales serve two predominant functions. Does anyone know what those primary functions of the scales are? What those scales actually are to do, for one, as you'll see, they're all running the same direction. If I come this way, coming from the tail to the head, you can hear it as it gets rough feeling. Those scales are coming and lifting up. But if I run from the head of the fish to the tail of the fish, it's smooth and you don't feel those scales coming up. Those scales being laid on top of one another and laying from the head to the tail allow the fish to create speed and become more aerodynamic and allow them to not have any drag as they come through the water. The main primary function of those scales, though, is actually to be able to protect themselves from either other predatory animals, obstacles, obstructions. If they're swimming around rocks or different things like that, their scales will protect them from getting damaged from those rocks or any other obstacles that they might come across. Now, fins are another main thing of a fish's body and the anatomy of the steelhead. Now, how many different types of fins do we think fish have? Do they have 2 fins, 8 fins, 6 fins, 5? Actually, steelhead have 6 different types of fins. They're going to have, on the front side right here, they have their pectoral fin. Then they're going to come into a pelvic fin, an anal fin, a caudal or a tail fin, as it is the tail of the fish. Then on the top, we have an adipose fin, and then the dorsal fin, just like in the movie Jaws, when we see the fin of sharks sticking up out of the water all the time. Now, each fin serves a different and really kind of a different function to be able to allow the steelhead to do different things. Does anyone know what those different functions are? Firstly, between the pectoral and the pelvic fin, these are predominantly used for steering. They use them to steer the body, they use them to swim around, go around different objects and obstacles. Then they use the dorsal and the adipose fin for stabilization. A fish obviously swims upright in the water like this. They're not swimming on their sides or up on their bellies. So when a fish is swimming around, its dorsal fins are straight up in the air to provide stabilization. Now, as great as stabilization and steering are, if you had a car with no motor, you wouldn't be able to go very far. The motor of the fish is the caudal fin. This tail fin and the caudal fin is what is the motor of the fish. That's what provides them with all their power to be able to go and to move through with what they need to do. Moving on, we can move into some of the internal parts of the fish. Now, this is where it might get a little bit different. So, first thing here, you have two different tracks within the internal components and the internal anatomy of a steelhead. One of those is the digestive tract. Now we're going to start kind of working backwards to forwards in the digestive tract, starting with the anal cavity right here. Alright, so as we come into the internal anatomy of the steelhead, after covering what would be the external anatomy of the steelhead, we're going to come into different inside components. Again, we started talking about the digestive tract. As we come in, you're going to see some of the intestines moving your way up through into the steelhead. And then you're going to get up into the stomach. The stomach on this particular steelhead is actually empty, unfortunately, because I wanted to show you guys something cool with the inside of that stomach. But there is nothing inside the stomach of this steelhead. The other really important internal anatomy of a fish is what's called the air bladder or the swim bladder. Now we can see this right here. This spot right here is the air bladder. This is what helps the fish float and provide them neutral buoyancy as they're swimming through the water. Again, as we continue to move up through the internal body of a steelhead, we can see right where their heart is at also. Now the heart is not part of the digestive tract, but it's an important piece to cover. Just like the heart of our humans, it really helps helps circulate blood throughout the system of the steelhead and is very important throughout the system of them. Now, going back, we're going to go cover more of the external anatomy. Does anyone remember how many different types of fins that steelhead have? 6. That's right. We have 6 different fins on a body of a steelhead. Now moving in, we're going to move back to some of the circulatory system, and we can cover the spinal column, now with this, what we'll be able to see is right in here, you can see right where the spine of that fish comes. Now the spine, along with the lateral lines, is what helps the fish sense different things and also provides movement throughout their body.